1 minute.
Good evening. I'd like to call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. Roll call, please.
Let the record show that Commissioner Garcia has an excused absence. Commissioner Krushat?
Here.
Commissioner Pahana?
Here.
Vice Chair Cure?
Here.
Chair Walker?
Here. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going to the city's website and clicking on the meeting agendas link. Public comment. This is time for the public to address the Planning Commission on issues within the jurisdiction of the Commission that are not on this agenda. All comments are to be directed to the Chair of the Commission and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional and courteous decorum during their comments. There is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out a name and address slip and give it to the Planning Commission Secretary. The Planning Commission is prohibited by Brown Act, state law, from taking action or discussing at length items that are not on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific items will be deferred until the consideration of that agenda item. I'm going to open public comment. Do we have any just open public comments? Nobody's rushing to the podium. I will close public comment. Commissioner comments and meetings and reports of meetings attended. Jim, we'll start with you.
This weekend I got a chance to visit the Morongo Basin Healthcare District's fair that they had in Freedom Plaza. It was very nice, a lot of free medical advice, and I did a little campaigning. That's it.
Jessica?
Did not attend any meetings.
Leslie?
Hi, everyone. I have not attended any meetings since my last. It's good to see us all here. Sorry, excused absence for Mr. Garcia. Missed him for this meeting.
I also have not attended any meetings, and I don't have any announcements for this meeting. You know, no big announcements. I'm leaving or staying or whatever. So we're gonna move on to the consent calendar. We have one item on the consent calendar. Has everyone had a chance to read the meeting minutes from last meeting?
Yes.
Yes, and I motion that we accept the minutes as written.
And I second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Krushat?
Aye.
Commissioner Pahana?
Aye.
Vice Chair Cure?
Aye.
Chair Walker?
Aye.
Approved.
Moving on to public hearings. DCA Chapter 19.124, Mobile Home Parks and Special Occupancy Parks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This originally intended to be a cleanup item like we were doing with the rest of the development code. It evolved to be more than that. We have been studying this particular issue since March. These are the 5 other times this particular subject has been before the Commission: March, September, November of last year, February, and August of this year. There's a few things organizationally in the ordinance that the Commission requested. One is that mobile home parks, RV parks, and campgrounds be listed separately. We've done so. And these are the summaries of the changes to the development code that staff is recommending currently based upon the discussions and the workshops we've had before the Commission. For mobile home parks, defining the density of a mobile home park to 8 spaces per acre, increasing the minimum lot size to 10 acres, defining the minimum dimension of each space, reducing the parking requirement, requiring common laundry facilities, and reducing the landscape buffer to 10 feet along street frontages. For RV parks, the direction last time was to limit RV parks to commercial, tourist, and public zones. RV parks would no longer be permitted in the rural living zones, increasing minimum lot size to 10 acres and decreasing the allowable density to 5 spaces per acre. And I've got some updated information there. Implementing a 50-foot setback from all property lines, requiring trash enclosures, and requiring a sewage disposal or dump stations. So the two zones that we've discussed, I realize this is hard to read. I made blow-up prints for the commission. This is the citywide as a whole, and I can also bring this up in our Nobel system. The commission asked me last time, where are the CT and public zones? These are the blow-up of particular areas. We've got, and this is on the west side of town, the central part. I'm not going to dwell too much on the locations here because I can bring up the GIS system. I can discuss it in more detail. And then commercial campgrounds will be limiting tourists to commercial, tourist, and public zones, just like RV parks, and would not be allowed in the rural living zones. And again, increasing the minimum lot size to 10 acres, decreasing the maximum density to 5 acres, and including all the other setbacks. And we also did discover that there is a mobile home tourist commercial district overlay, which is not really necessary anymore because we're addressing it through other means in the development code. So we're recommending that particular overlay just be removed, since it's redundant anyhow in the development code. All right, so we are recommending that the commission find the project exempt from CEQA, adopt the resolution, and forward a recommendation to the city council for approval of the development code amendment. I do want to note that Commissioner Cure provided some information earlier on this afternoon. This is an RV park, existing RV park in the city of Yucca Valley, 5408 29 Palms. It has 15 spaces on it, and it's about 1.25 acres, give or take. That translates to about 11.7 RV spaces per acre. And for reference, this is the county's regulations that was forwarded on to me from Commissioner Cure. It should be noted that their conditional use permits, theirs being the county's, are drastically higher than ours. They're $7,200 plus or $14,000 plus. And those are deposit based. In other words, if it needs more time, they pay more money. So just putting it out there. For comparison, we have one existing RV park in the city of 29 Palms. It is approximately 17 acres and is permitted for 168 RV spaces, which translates to 9.8, give or take, RV spaces per acre. So we have recommended that the density is to be lowered to 5 RV spaces per acre, but given the circumstance, we're open to suggestions from the commission.
Wouldn't that park be grandfathered?
It would be grandfathered in if we decided to keep it at 5. So that concludes the presentation. I have where to go? Here it is. So I have the last time the council or the commission asked me for a map showing the sizes of each of the areas under CT zones. I can manipulate this map per our discussion now to follow it. The green is the P zones, and the light pink are the tourist commercial zones, and I've measured each clump for lack of a better term, clump being a technical term, each size of each of these areas of the CT zone for reference, in case the commission or the members of the public would like to see them. So that concludes today's presentation, and our recommendation is that if there are any modifications to our modification to the development code, we go ahead and make them tonight, and then we move them forward to the city council.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions for staff up here?
I have a question. Just with the process for each one, that wasn't on there, like whether it's CUP, MUP, administrative, and I must have missed that part. I just wanted to confirm.
Campgrounds and RV parks and mobile home parks all require a conditional use permit.
Okay, all of them do.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Jim, go ahead with your questions.
I have, okay, on your map that you just pulled up, and when I look at and I'm looking down at La Rea, because one of my concerns was having campgrounds in the middle of the town. And you have, so, you're saying that's a 21 acre,
Yeah,
Parcel?
this entire cluster of
Total.
CT zones is 21 acres. Now, notice I didn't bring up the ownership, and I didn't bring up,
but each one of
the
those
area.
parcels is under, so if somebody
That's-
wanted to do it, they would have to
have to merge the
They would
parcels.
have to merge all those parcels if they wanted to
Right,
put a park.
right.
Right.
And
then
these
the-
other two clusters are way below the 10 acre
Yeah.
threshold.
Yeah. And then the other question I had was, and I appreciate the work that's been done. I love it when we can clean up an ordinance. You know, I look at mobile homes and with the issue that we're having with, you know, developing affordable housing. And I went back to the old, mobile home parks have always been CT, is that correct? CT and public use, commercial tourism? I mean, it's never been commercial general, right?
No, it's never been.
They've never been allowed in commercial general.
No, it's not allowed in general,
Yeah.
general commercial.
Is that something we need to consider with mobile home parks being?
Well, mobile home parks, those are residential use.
Yeah.
So those are
Okay.
allowed, in the, all the residential zones.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. That answers that question. And then the last one I had, excuse me a minute. Oh, you answered it because you're getting rid of the mobile home tourist commercial district overlay. So we're just going to omit that entire section.
That's correct, because it's not necessary
Okay,
anymore.
that was it. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Leslie, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Okay, bear with me. So I don't know if you'd like to pull this up, but going through the actual, written code, if we could go
Are you
to,
talking about our proposed
in
changes?
the agenda,
In the
packet.
agenda portion, okay.
Yeah, and then if you could go to, I don't know if it's specialty parks, but, it is for mobile home parks. So if you go to G, you are replacing it. It was an F, but now it's a G. Mobile home
Can you
parks.
give me a page?
Keep scrolling down.
Okay.
Right. Keep going. Well, while we're looking for that, G, it was an F, but it's a requirement of laundry facilities.
I'm sorry, which one?
It's regarding requirement of laundry facility.
Okay.
So we did mention that we were gonna move forward with and the building code just kind of states that they have to be 10 years or newer.
For
Is it
mobile
the
homes, yeah.
presumption that a mobile home would have a washer and dryer hookups? And would it be necessary to require in our development code a laundry facility?
I'm not aware that RVs, as they're
Not
designed-
RVs, mobile
Mobile
homes.
homes.
No? Some
So
do,
it was-
some don't.
So commissioners, is that something that even though a 10-year or newer equipped mobile home could or could not have washer and dryer hookups, are we still going to make a requirement for the place to have a laundry facility?
Well, being that not all, you're assuming that every single mobile home does have a hookup.
Yes.
Some don't. And so what we're saying is if you're going to have a mobile home park, you need to provide
Laundry?
a laundry
Laundry
facility
facility.
for those that don't have hookups in there.
Okay, I just
And
want to ask that.
that's-
If we're,
It's just an extra, I mean,
Yeah.
it's an amenity that I think is necessary.
I agree,
Yeah.
but if they come with them, it's kind of like, well, I already
Well,
was about to buy all these and they have this washer and dryer hookup and I could save X amount of money as a developer, but.
But it-
So
Trust me,
it's
they'll
like
save
if
a
it's
lot of money at
required-
$2 per wash.
Well, if they're
Yeah.
putting them all in
Mhm.
and they all have them, then
Could
that
that
could
be
be
something you
like
consider?
in lieu of if all of
Like if
them
all
have
mobile
it.
home, yeah, mobile
No.
homes have in-home washer and dryer hookups, could you consider during the application process that need is met? Or
We-
no, because the actual machines aren't purchased in those homes?
We could change the requirement to 1 washer and dryer per 20 units, so you have to provide less washers and dryers, if you wanted to do it that way.
Mhm.
Because even though maybe the mobile home, maybe they have hookups, but do they have,
The
can they
machines.
purchase a washer and dryer? So this is just another, an amenity, so if the homeowner can't afford maybe to have a washer and dryer, just at the, right now, or at the beginning.
Okay, we'll put I'm okay to leave it as the requirement for the
Okay,
laundry facility. Is
Okay.
everyone else okay? We won't
Okay.
change it?
I'm
And
good
you
with
wanna
that.
leave it at 1 per 10?
I think that's suitable.
Okay.
Because if that, maybe they'd have their choice if they wanted to get
Right.
one. And then if you go down to K, landscape footage, that could just be in their landscape plan that they present to you. It's not like a specific landscape.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, typically we ask for at least a conceptual landscape plan when we get a site plan in for a development.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then L, block wall, and that's to have the block wall versus any type of like shrubbery or anything else, right? We want it to be a block,
No, it can be block, wood, metal, vinyl, any of those.
but solid is the idea.
Yeah, it has to be,
Okay.
yeah, solid.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be a solid wall, and it does say and/or a drought-tolerant landscape screen. So it doesn't if you want
Oh.
it to be a fence, we can change that language. But right now, you have the ability to do fencing or.
Or I could
or
grow like a
hedge,
wall of
or a hedge.
oleanders.
Yes.
Is that what, we're okay with wall of oleanders? Or did you want it like
Because
really
that's,
not seen?
that's the same in all 3 of these, correct?
It is.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, I don't see why we'd make it different for one than we would the other.
Okay. And then,
A lot of options for the.
I think so too, but block wall. And then moving on to specialty parks. And we're certain on these pink and greens, the commercial tourism and public. Based off seeing these maps now, like, this is where, if you could imagine, these could be mobile home parks. And next to other housing, next to other, business
Well,
establishments,
They could be mobile home parks or
or specialty
a
parks.
specialty park.
Or.
Well, and
But they
CT,
have to
Campgrounds.
combine. I was just wondering, like, are any of these just one single lot that's 10 acre? Are any of these just 10
there's a
acres
few, there's not
singles?
that many, there are a few. Like
So-
this particular lot is almost 12, okay? And this lot right here is almost 16. I mean, and this is a rough measurement on the tools that I have. And this, this is a pretty large, but if you take out the 17 acres, I mean, I could measure each one of these individually if that's the commission's.
Well,
desire.
just, I think conceptually, it's a nice map.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I was just wondering, like, is there one that's 10 acres, or are there
There's a-
5 that are
There's a
10
few
acres?
that it is, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few that are over 10.
Yeah.
Well, in that particular zone, there already is a RV park
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, this is already occupied as an RV park. There's 2 parcels here that are roughly the same size, so each one of these are roughly about 20 acres apiece.
Mhm. Because I know we mentioned not rural, even though presented by Ms. Kier
Yeah.
was basically that this code reading
In the
says
county.
rural living.
Yeah,
In the
so
county.
San Bernardino County allows for CUPs in rural living.
But they also list other zones we simply don't have.
Totally. And I just wanted to just do a comparison because
Yeah.
I know that they had the CUP process that was more recent that they added for this. And I think it's very expensive to do. So not many people are trying to do it.
Yeah.
But it's good to compare. I mean, for me, it was partially also like how many of these RVs could fit.
Mhm.
Like seeing that there's more, my opinion is if we have the 9.88 for the existing one, then maybe just adjust it to match that.
But it's not 9.8, it's 17 something, it's 9 point.
Well, it's 9.88 RV spaces per
Per-
Okay,
lot.
okay.
Now, if you look, that particular measurement this looks like it's 2 parcels, but it isn't. So all of this
Is 17.
is 17 and change.
But they're
Mhm.
not even on that side.
But, and that's something else. I think it looks
Mhm.
like a little mini storage area or something, but just for comparison.
Yeah. I just feel like since we already have it that way, and I think that there could be more, especially with seeing these visuals that this one is 11.7, the one that I showed that, you know, you can see that it's nicely done. It has a pool, has all these other things, and they're able to fit all of these. There's potential to do, maybe just match what we already have for this.
Commissioners, what do you think? If we match what we have and, or are we, the intention to reduce to 5?
Like right now, the existing RV park has 9.88 spaces per acre, essentially, is average. We're trying to say 5 per acre. I'm saying we should just come in at the same.
I mean, we came up with the 5 based upon, I know it's going back for a lot of meetings, because I know we went back and forth on this. And now you want to change it back to 8 from 5.
I'm just saying we already have one. Why not? Like,
Well, I understand that there's a lot of places that are going to be
Yeah.
grandfathered in. I mean, we're talking about any future development here.
but I mean, for 10 acres to have 10 acres and then have that many per acre, that's not very
yeah.
many. And then just
Okay.
the cost of getting the CUP and everything, it's not really, there's not going to be a lot of people who want to do it
So
at that.
you're recommending 8.
I'm recommending the 9.88 to match our existing RV park.
Would we just say like a whole number? Like
It could be a whole
9 or
number.
I'd like
10?
a whole number.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'd like to at least say, let's get close to the one that already
All right,
exists.
then I would sit there and say, I'm good with 8 if you wanted to go with
But
8.
this is 9.88.
9.88.
So it'd be like 9 or 10.
So it'd be 10.
All right, you want to go, so that's what you're recommending, is that we go to 10.
Yes.
Okay,
What
so
do
we're
you-
going to double it.
Chair, do you have a discussion point?
I kind of agree with adding more density to it, because they're gonna have, that gives them the ability to have some smaller spots, and then also bigger spots for those extra big RVs. So giving them a more density would make it easier to fit some more spots in there and make this more of a financially viable
More
thing for
viable.
them.
Is this only for the RV?
Yeah, yeah, this is just for the RV park.
Just
so
for the
Yeah,
RV
just for
parks is what you're
RV.
talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
After my couple more questions, then I would love to hear from the public, but I
Okay.
just wanted to kind of discuss briefly. We're not setting anything, and,
Yeah.
and then when we come back, we could like agree on
Sounds good.
Great.
what we'd like to propose or motion. Okay. The last one is on L. It's adequate lighting. It is somewhat general, and I know we've been working really hard on our lighting code.
lighting
So perhaps we could say like pursuant to our light code for outdoor lighting or something like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Is that
I
agreeable?
like that. Yes.
That, for now is, I'll hold my question.
And do you have a particular page or section that we need to insert that, or do we have that?
That was 19.124.6, but you crossed out the 7, and you follow all the way, specialty park, L.
Just a reference code section there, right? Is that what you were talking about?
Um,
Or adequate lighting, and you want us to reference the lighting code section?
yeah, pursuant to our lighting code.
Yeah,
outdoor lighting.
yeah, we don't need to have multiple lighting code regulations floating about there, so yeah.
Just reference, yeah. Okay, did you have questions, Mr. Chair?
No, I did not have any.
I have one, I have a question that I just
Thought of.
I thought about when I was coming in. If somebody came in and I'm going to the specialty park, which is the campground, right? So we have the campground standards, and we have a statement in B on setbacks. Individual campsites shall be located a minimum of 50 feet from all property lines. Any permanent structure shall comply with setbacks of the under, what is, okay, so, and I'm just doing a hypothetical. So somebody comes in, they want to put in the campground, it's got the 10 acres, puts a site up, and so at each campsite, he puts a Mongolian yurt. And that's what he's renting. He would be allowed to do that in this, because it's kind of not a permanent structure, it's a semi-permanent structure.
Well, yeah, that will fall under campgrounds.
Yeah, so, right, so he could do that, though. That would be viable.
No, that would be one of your campsites.
Yeah.
So your permanent structures are like if you do laundry facilities, restrooms, if you have a
Right.
caretaker quarters, that's a residence. Those are what we mean by or a community center, anything like that. So
Okay,
like
but-
if you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's right. That's, so if he designed the park so that every campsite had a Mongolian yurt,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you're renting, which is a semi-permanent, it's not a permanent structure, because they go down and come up really fast.
Mm-hmm.
That would be allowed under this regulation right now.
Yeah, but they'd have to do that 50-foot setback.
No, I understand that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
it-
that
yeah,
would be, so that would be allowed.
right.
That's all I'm trying to clarify.
y-
These
yes.
campgrounds don't have to be, nope, you gotta come in, put a tent up,
Right.
drag a
the-
trailer.
No.
Right, this
Yeah.
would be temporary or semi-permanent
Yeah.
structures, I mean,
If you, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
if you do those kind of structures,
Yeah,
then you also have to go through the state of California for permitting.
okay, and we
Because
also.
our
re-
building code doesn't cover those
Right.
structures, so.
yeah.
Okay, and we
Yeah.
also have a CUP requirement, so that would be covered. Okay,
Right.
that was my only question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna open up public comment. Philip G. I would butcher your name, and I'm trying not to do that.
Hi, my name is Philip Georgiadis. I am a affordable housing manufacturer, specifically when it comes to modular homes, things of that nature. To answer your question, I'm not aware of any units within the last 15 years that don't have a washer and dryer like component built into it. My issue is that with the limited number of parcels and the restrictive size, and then the restrictive number of units per parcel, it basically limits any kind of affordable housing development. And I think that would be a mistake, so I think it needs to be reconsidered. And in regards to the campgrounds, pretty much the same thing. I mean, the cost of developing something like that, putting up a 10-acre fence to only have a few units on there, doesn't really make sense, just from a builder standpoint. That's it.
Thank you.
Just to make sure the mobile home parks are allowed in residential,
Right, so,
restricted to those two.
right, mobile home parks are allowed in every residential zone. And the campgrounds and RV parks, those are,
Restricted to what we're gonna agree upon.
well, and by nature, they're more of a commercial activity anyway. They're not permanent, they're not meant to be they're not meant to be permanent housing.
Okay, thank you.
George M.
Hi, I'm George Malopoulos. I first visited 29 Palms 20 years ago and liked it so much I bought land here. My wife grew up here and was a park ranger at the national park when we met. I have family here, including my wife's parents, my wife's brother and his family, and my 3 nephews. We own a popular vacation rental, a monthly rental house, and hundreds of acres of land. Regarding the proposed changes to the development code, I am in opposition to some of the items in the RV park and campground sections. My main objection is the requirement that these can only be in tourist, commercial, and public zones and not in rural living zones. Most of the city is designated as rural living zoning. Currently, some rural zone land is allowed to have a campground with a CUP. The proposed changes would remove all this land from being potential campgrounds or RV parks. All the CT zone land combined is less than 1% of city land, and public land is 2% of city land. If you look at the zoning map, you can see most of the existing tourist commercial land is in places where people would not want to camp or have an RV park. Like on the corner of Utah Trail and Highway 62, or on La Rea behind the Taco Bell. Can you picture that? Some of the CT zone parcels are less than 10 acres and would therefore not even be available for these uses under the proposed changes. In addition, much of the public land is either already used for public purposes or is surrounded by rural land. Does this mean that the government can use this rural public land for RV parks and campgrounds, but private citizens are prohibited from using adjacent rural land for the same purpose? I disagree with the proposed changes of the 50-foot setback from all property lines and decreasing the density to 5 spaces per acre. The 50-foot setback is excessive, and it removes about 30% of the available land for use on a 10-acre parcel. The current maximum density allowed is 8 units per acre for rural districts and 12 units per acre for commercial and industrial districts. These are more common densities for RV parks and campgrounds and should remain in place. If the city wants to promote tourism, it should make land available for camping that takes advantage of the natural beauty of the area, such as rural land. The proposed restrictions are too harsh and would make land in 29 Palms less usable and less valuable, and could be considered a taking of the land, or inverse condemnation. When a governmental entity takes an action which damages or decreases the value of private property without obtaining ownership of the property through the use of eminent domain, this is considered inverse condemnation. I urge you to reconsider all the proposed changes to the Development Code. Thank you.
Thank you. You can just stay up there since you're speaking on behalf of somebody. Go ahead. We'll start you again.
Start over. Oh, this is for someone that couldn't be present.
Jeremiah S., right?
And his name is Jeremiah Schuler. Let me, hold on a second. Okay, pretend I'm Jeremiah. Okay, he's taller than I am. Okay, dear members of the Planning Commission, my name is Jeremiah Schuler, and I've been a frequent visitor to 29 Palms since 2017, initially drawn to the area by my passion for climbing. More recently, my wife and I became full-time residents after purchasing Randy and Jean Nelson's property on Sullivan Road. Our long-term vision is to develop a bed and breakfast that we can operate in our retirement. While we always have understood that developing our property would be a challenge, especially as we've navigated the existing San Bernardino and 29 Palms development codes, tonight's proposed amendment presents an even greater threat to our plans. The current development code in 29 Palms, coupled with the San Bernardino County standards, is already quite restrictive and presents significant hurdles. The addition of further regulations will make it even more difficult for average citizens like myself to pursue our dreams of contributing to this community. Tightening the requirements for developing rural parcels only serves to favor large, out-of-town developers who come to 29 Palms with the sole intent of making a profit. Meanwhile, those of us who wish to invest in and improve our own properties for long-term benefit will be left behind. The recent introduction of the conditional use permit for campgrounds by San Bernardino County has been effective at maintaining high standards and preventing poorly managed developments. In my experience, I have not seen any substandard campgrounds established under the current regulations, which begs the question, why change something that is clearly working? I urge the council to carefully consider the unintended consequences of this amendment. By making development more difficult, we risk stifling local growth and pushing out residents who genuinely care about the future of this community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Eric Menendez. I only said that because I know his last name.
Hello. So, I actually agree with a lot of what George said. I see this from two sides. I see it as someone who used to have a business where we managed a tourist type company, so I'm pro tourism, of course, but I'm also pro residents and pro community. And actually, we, over the course of the 3 years we did Desert Beacon, I must have been to like 15 or 20 different projects throughout the county, and a few in our area in Wonder Valley where there's people trying to do these things. I'm okay with the RV restrictions, and I mean, I think 10 is a little much, 8 I think is better, but as far as the campground goes, people will use that 1 per acre, or 5 per 1 acre. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is, because they're going to put all these other amenities in the center. You have to have walkways and so forth, and you're going to find these little yurts or Moroccan things, Again, I think it's good we're talking about this. I think we should entertain it more. As far as the campgrounds go, that's my main concern. And I agree completely about the rural living part. I mean, I think that is being restrictive. And as far as like the county development code, they just recently did this a year ago, but their CUP permit fee is way high. And I knew one of the original people who were trying to do it at a property in Yucca Mesa, and he spent $30,000 or $40,000, and they shot it down. I think he sold it. It might have gotten permitted. I haven't really followed it because I didn't want to have anything to do with those properties because they're a lot of work. But I definitely think we should look at it. And, you know, like if you go up to like Sullivan Road or up above by Theater 29, Keith, can you move them out? Do you guys know about Leekstrom Sanitarium? You guys familiar with that property? It's kind of right across from Smitty's Bargain Box. There was a lady from Santa Monica who bought that property, and she came to us wanting to turn it into a short-term rental, but of course it didn't meet development code because a lot of them were attached. So she just turned around and sold it and made a couple $100,000 because that was when the market was going crazy. And I think someone else bought it now, and they're trying to do something like that would be a great commercial tourist zone, but I guess it's not. But if you were to restrict this or whatever, that's a great property that something should be done with rather than sitting there unused and you know. So anyway, so I think I agree with George. I think just it's a great start to the conversation we're having, but I think we should just look at the camping part a little closer because people will try to put the maximum amount of units on these properties and skirt the code to every way they can. And I think Susan mentioned in one of the study sessions too, we just should clarify that these short-term camp or this campgrounds or whatever we're going to call them, make sure it's clear that they need to operate under the short-term rental guidelines as well. Make sure they're paying the TOT, occupancy, noise standards, all that stuff. So I'm assuming, you know, the county, and again, the county permitted, they made these changes and they still don't allow them for short-term rentals, which it's contradictory, but everything the county does is contradictory, and we know that. So, but anyways, I think we're doing a great job with this, and I just think just look at it a little closer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Susan Peplow.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back, Max. You were gone and back. I'm going to try to isolate my thoughts specifically to RV, although I'm sure I have other opinions on the rest of what's being adjusted here. Not so much into the camping aspect, but to kind of piggyback on what Commissioner Cure was talking about, and even Commissioner Krushat, who brought up initially several months ago, hey, what land is appropriate for such development? So if we're looking specifically at CT land, my concern is, you know, this is a great approach. It's an appropriate, you know, is this, we're establishing this as an appropriate place for campgrounds and for RV parks. My concern is the size. As the overlay of the example of Yucca Valley and somebody who actually travels with a travel trailer, 5 per acre is not much. And the return on investment, whether you're local owned or a developer of some level or somebody who's owned this CT land for 15 years, let's give them an opportunity to do something with it, especially when you're looking at the overlay of the map. Utah and Highway 62, what's that hurting if there's 25 RVs parked there that want to go into the park and go to Tortoise Rock Casino or come in for some sort of softball tournament or something like that. You know, as we are looking towards creating additional revenue for our city as our costs continue to come up, we've said many times, we don't have a lot of revenue streams. Property tax, TOT tax, sales tax, a little bit of gas tax. And let's all remember that we just had to take money out of our general fund to pay public works because of our gas tax is dwindling. So if we have an opportunity to bring in TOT in appropriate zones, why restrict them? I have a 5-acre fenced lot and can tell you I can put more than 25 RVs on it in an appropriate location. So I'd like to see your conversation go a little bit deeper. Would be from the research and my personal experience in staying at RV parks, 8 or 10 per acre, and what you're seeing already existing at like whatever that is, the only RV park that we have, seems perfectly reasonable to me. 5, who's going to do it? And of the CT land that's available, what's available? Half those pinks are already in use. 29 Palms in, like let's just, if we just like extracted that out, there's not that many parcels left. So I think the size of a 10-acre parcel to be qualifying, I think is too much. I think it's going to make it, it's like you're building a code for nobody. It's a little bit of theater. So thanks.
Thank you. All right, do we have any more public comments? Okay, I'm going to close public comment. Do we have any more discussion from up here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. I think some good points were made, and I know that people would like to use rural living. I mean, I live in rural living, and I'm not sure about my other neighbors who would like a campground moved in next to them. What's the existing, I don't have the development code in front of me. What's the existing code now? I don't think I don't think campgrounds are allowed. I mean, the original, let's recoup a little bit. Originally, we were gonna have no campgrounds within the city limits. We kind of moved away from that. I know there was discussion of putting it in rural living, and kind of the consensus moved, both from comments from the gallery and up here, we decided not to put in rural living. What's allowed in rural living right now? I can't remember.
Excuse me. Currently, campgrounds are allowed in the rural living zone.
Okay. Why did we take it out?
We haven't taken it out yet. We're just proposing to take
But
it
if
out.
we,
Yeah.
if we do
Because
this, then
just-
they're no longer allowed in the
In
rural
rural
living.
living.
Correct.
And I'd
But-
like to go back and revisit that.
But nobody has one.
I'm sorry.
Nobody has one. There's nobody applying, there's nobody
We
wanting
have- Right.
these.
We have no permitted campgrounds in the city, and we have no proposals for any
Yeah.
campgrounds.
And we've had this
at
code
time.
for years.
Yes.
I just,
Right.
But
it's not, never mind. I don't believe it's that clear that it's a permit, and the process for doing it, and what would be required to have in there, it's not spelled out like it is in here, correct?
That's
Well, that's-
correct. We're trying to clarify
Yeah.
the
yeah,
regulations.
right.
that's what started this whole thing, is we're
Yes.
trying to clarify, because it was so confusing.
Yeah.
That-
Right, so I just,
Okay.
that might be a big reason as to why the code, the existing code is kind of ambiguous and confusing, so people aren't trying to do it because they're like, this is gonna be a huge hassle, because I don't know what I'm getting myself into, because I don't know what's required.
Is it confusing or is it just vague? Like, that you're not sure, like how we're spelling it out now with all these?
No,
Code
I
is
like
code.
how it is spelled out now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I also have always kind of been more on the fence of we should do it in rural living, minus staying away from like that 1 mile exclusion zone from the park for the buffer zone.
Well, you can camp inside the,
You can camp inside the park,
so,
yes.
but not in the buffer zone.
Well, no, the
Buffer-
buffer zone is just a buffer zone. It's just the density that's lined up. on it.
It
They-
doesn't
They
change
can't increase the
anything.
size of the lots that are
Right.
already there, and you can't, okay.
Right, but you
So-
camp inside it.
I mean, they wouldn't be allowed in the buffer zone anyway, if we had the 10-acre
Well,
requirement.
okay, so,
And the 10-acre requirement, I'm kind of looking at in rural living is, yeah, you want about 10 acres from,
the buffer zone has to do with increasing density.
right,
And if it's allowed in the zone, it's not increasing density.
okay,
So basically, the development, the buffer zone refers to if you have a 5 acre zoning, they discourage, not prohibit, it discourages zoning from going from 5 acres to 1 acres, for an example.
so unless somebody had, as the way we're proposing it now, unless there was a 10-acre lot inside the buffer zone, they could do it though, if there was a
That's the way
10-acre.
that's the way it's
Okay.
currently written.
All right. I'm confused.
For this, the whole option, another thing to bring up, which I wasn't clear on, was also the TOT and the, like, all that applies to the camping and the RV.
Yes,
Yes.
because
Everything,
because
right?
the campgrounds and and RV parks,
Mhm.
by nature, they're
Yeah.
meant to be transient occupancy facilities. That's
Yeah.
therefore they would pay TOT. But if we need to make it clear in the ordinance, fine.
But if we make the sizing and the restrictions too restrictive, and people can't build this and then make
Yeah.
money doing this,
Then
they're
they're
not
not
gonna
gonna
do it, because it doesn't make, nobody's gonna build it to lose money.
So currently, for the CUP process for this, like, what's the cost comparative to the county?
I think our highest cost of a conditional use permit, I can be corrected, and we can look it up. It's approximately $5,000. I think it's like
I just-
4,800.
I think it's an opportunity. I mean, I agree with some of the comments of just the opportunity missed, because a lot of people are trying to, that want to do these types of things that can't necessarily find the lots, or it's so expensive and hard to do it in the county. Some people have been successful in doing it in the county, and there's some like Airstream parks and things like that that have come online or have actually gotten the CUPs. A lot of them end up not getting approved because a lot of people are against it in the area. So I think it will kind of dictate itself through that process more, to leave it open so that there's more opportunity. Otherwise, right now, it's so restrictive that I don't see it. And that's even why I was saying going up more per acre or finding ways that would give more opportunity. So rural living for me, if that's the case, then I think that opening it to the rural living would be more beneficial, because there's not that many options of where you can do this currently in this overlay.
Well, and the deletion from rural living was per
Yeah.
Planning Commission's direction.
No,
So
I
that's-
know.
That's
No,
why
I
we did
know.
that.
There
So
was
I
a
think-
consensus based upon, there was
We were wrong.
I don't think there was a consensus, because I don't think, I know I didn't like it. That there was a 3-2 vote or something to that effect,
Yeah.
or maybe 4-1.
I think it
Right.
was before it got before you realize how much there's really no options. I think thinking about it being in rural living and now seeing the options, that changes it. I think that's what's.
I live in rural living.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'd have a quick question. So with this 50-foot setback from all property lines, is it the total property that I'm figuring out my density for 10 spots, or is it minus the 50 feet on all sides?
Okay.
So then we definitely need, because we're losing 50 feet on each side, that really makes it,
If you have 10 acres and it's 5 per acre, you can have 50 spaces. So even though you're taking out the setbacks and stuff, you can still have 50 spaces, because density applies to the entire overall parcel.
on the existing one, how many is in the existing one?
190, 68,
And that's on 17 acres?
but
And
not
a
all
par-
17 acres.
Part of it's not even used.
totally.
So we need to make it more dense.
Yes.
10 is too
Correct.
restrictive.
5 is too restrictive.
I think 10 is, I think 10 is too restrictive, because if they have 117 on not even 17, and they probably have room for some more.
Well, that's why I brought up this
Yeah.
one, because you can really see there's a pool, there's all of, I mean, it has the road, the pool, the parking. It gives you an idea,
For this
but it doesn't
one-
have the setbacks.
All right.
For an acre, they
So
have
let's
15.
let's regroup here.
One problem at a time.
One subject at a time.
Yes.
My hand can only go so fast.
I'm with you.
So
I just wanted to get my question out there before I forgot it.
So this is the existing RV park that's in the city. This is the only RV park in the city. We have no commercial campgrounds in the city. This parcel, it is 17 point something acres. There are 168 RV spaces. That calculates 168 divided by 17 is 9.88 RV spaces per acre. The example that Commissioner Cure brought up in Yucca Valley is approximately 1.28 acres and has 15 spaces, therefore 11.7 dwelling unit or RV spaces per acre.
That's why I thought 10 was a nice number for the RV park.
But that's the maximum density, right? They don't have to meet the maximum density.
Right, that is the maximum.
Eric, we've already had public comment. Thank you for trying, but, yeah, but that's the maximum density. I don't think we need to make the maximum density like what they're probably, what if we make the maximum density 15? Because they could make a lot of these spots for a little small travel trailer and then some for the big 45-foot RVs, right? They don't have to make each spot to fit a 45-foot RV. If they only have 30 spots that can fit a 45-foot RV, but they've got 70 spots that can fit a little travel trailer, and then
I understand where you're going, but I think the code says 40 feet by 100 feet per space or some, what's that spacing?
We don't
That's
have
mobile
a
home?
That was for mobile home parks.
okay.
Yeah.
We didn't
We didn't
define-
limit the
we
size.
didn't
So just
define a
looking at this,
size
though,
for-
there's no setback at this
no, there is not.
park. So
I think you're trying to
you
make
add that into it.
decisions
And
on the fly, and that kind of, you know, we're looking at what's been done in the past, and we're kind of making a judgment here based upon what's been existing, and we kind of come up with a number based upon that, and we haven't done a really in-depth assessment to sit there and say, well, how many spaces could we get, you know, per acre that
Well,
is reasonable?
I think we need to, because I can tell you, MCCS on the base is desperately trying to get a larger RV park or build a
Yeah.
new one, and they want to make it size so they can have some lots with big RVs and lots with, they have the smaller travel trailer type thing so they can get more in there with the same amount of space they have. So I really think we need to think through this density thing, because that's what's gonna make or break somebody from making a profit doing this and us getting some taxes involved from this, is if they're able to
Well-
put enough people in there that makes it so they can make some financial gain with this, which then we get a financial gain back.
No, wait a minute, do we charge a TOT taxes for RV parks?
That's what I just say.
Yeah,
Yes.
We do?
We do.
Well, I can.
He said he can
Under
add it
TOT?
into there.
Yeah, we can add it. We can add it for clarification. I'm pretty sure that we do at the moment, but
I'm concerned about, we want to get this new ordinance through, and I think we need to spend, based upon the information we've got and just this discussion, I don't think we're ready to go and finalize this thing.
I
Well,
think
further discussion, or what are you wanting out of that? Independent work and then bring it to another meeting that will end up maybe like this, or how does that
I would
move
like,
forward?
yeah, I would like to do a little more research on size, densities, and what's available, and what is commercially viable.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna bring up the rural living. So
okay.
we can go back to
so
that part.
I can bring that up now. So we have several suffixes of rural living. So here's where they are.
So the one is out the zone, or is it the acreage? Like, what's
So
the
we
one?
have,
1 acre.
Yeah, so we don't-
2.55.
So let's take those off
that's
and just
our-
do 5,
you just want to do the 5 acre and above.
just to see. Yeah,
Well, wouldn't it be 10?
I know, but I don't
But
think
we
we
don't
have
have it- we
10.
don't have
So
a
this
10.
is where we're at a different. Yeah,
So they would have to even come and have them combined?
if
Not
it was at
necessarily,
10.
depend, because the RL 5 denotes that 5 acres is the minimum lot size for that
So they
particular
could
zone.
be, okay.
So they,
Yes.
right. Which is true for the other 2 RL zones as well. The RL 1 is 1 acre minimum, 2.5 is 2.5 acre
Oh.
minimum.
Minimum, got it.
So do we still want to keep the RL 5 up for discussion purposes? Okay. And so the RL 5 looks like the only part of it, of the city, is in the western half of the city.
Oh, the rest is county? Is that what? Or like, what's the
so
one?
this is county,
Okay,
this is county,
got it.
this is
County.
county,
In county.
and this is county.
Okay, so the only thing is along.
So most of them are outside.
Got it. I
So
remember
this
when we
is-
looked at this last time. Yeah.
I think it was removed, or an idea that rural living was not considered because we couldn't even get STRs next to each other. Like, they wanted to geospace them. So it's like, well, how are we gonna let down the street in rural living an entire whatever plus be in rural living? And I think that argument, and after these meetings, that was probably the consideration, is that more or less wasn't gonna be like hotels or this transient housing in residential, or, so that's why I think it shifted really quick to go to public, where maybe they could, maybe they're not as rural campgrounds as people would like, but in 29 Palms, you would experience a place to camp. You could go downtown and enjoy restaurants and spend your time and money in the city versus being like out. You could experience that elsewhere. But in 29, like, I think that's what, more or less why it ended up with commercial tourism and public.
Because technically speaking, if you're going to go camping, you're a tourist.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Well, there was a large opposition to rural living being being available zoning for this
That was
at
quite,
several of our meetings.
in several of the meetings, that was the comment from the public.
So in that consideration, that's why we moved to, so
That is why we went away from the rural living being available zoning.
Mm-hmm.
so here we are.
Yeah.
We have a code draft. We have suggestions of changing some things, like little things to where she's gonna, add the lighting pursuant to the outdoor lighting code. Something tangible that we can actually like change. It sounds like we don't like 5. And if we have this example in 1 acre, they could get 15 spots with all the amenities required.
I think 15, based off this.
But that's
because
with no setbacks on that thing.
there is no setbacks.
Yeah.
backs,
Or if
but-
there is, it's minimal. It's not like a big.
But you can also see that some of these lots are sized differently as well.
Correct. That's just for an example. So we could make the suggestion to staff.
I mean, should we go across like rural living, density? Right, those seem to be the 2 main things, right?
And staff is looking for direction, so,
So do you want each person comment on like,
well, in order to make the in order for us to move forward, we need a consensus on,
Yeah.
on where the commission is giving us direction on. If the commission needs more time, we could take one more public hearing at it. We've had 5. This is the 6th public meeting. So,
2 of those were study sessions.
okay, fine. I said this is a 6th public meeting.
That's turned into a study session.
Yeah. So,
I mean-
we're looking for direction from the commission, how you want to approach it.
Do we think we can work through the couple of things that we've had as kind of sticking points up here in the next half an hour? I have 1 no.
I think yes.
We could bring up your suggestions. You had like 2 pages full of suggestions for mobile home parks and specialty parks, and we could kind of take it from there. It's like at least we could agree
I don't know
upon
if
those
there were
items.
suggestions, they were the proposed changes, correct? At the
They
start
were
of
like
this?
recommendations
Okay.
I feel like
or change. Yes,
mobile
the
home,
change.
I think we're all agreed on, right? Like there's like, could we go through each thing and say, yeah, we agree on all those, and at least we get down to the few
Right, 'cause
things that
there's-
maybe we can.
I think you're right. Mobile home.
So we're set on mobile homes, but we're hung up on campgrounds and RV parks. Is that
Yes.
what we're saying?
Excuse me. I think we've agreed in RV park, we were agreed to 10 per acre, which is up from 5 per acre.
Yeah.
So that was one change that we said.
And
Okay.
Mr. Chair would like to have even higher. He's suggesting 15 per.
Because they don't have to build it to, if we say the maximum density is 15, they don't have to make it to 15, but they can, if they can do that and show us in the conditional use permit that they are being safe to the members there, allowing all the amenities and still have the 50-foot setbacks, and they can squat 15 spots per acre, and they think this is a viable business for them, I think we should let them do it. I don't think we should be more restrictive, saying, nope, you can only do 10, and you're gonna have all this just kind of open wasted space, or make it just a bunch of larger lots than you actually need for what you think you're gonna bring people into.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, but you're making a decision based upon, hold on.
Diane, you have something?
No, I was just gonna ask, you all are in consensus, that's 15 per acre?
No,
not
I
all.
think Jim
15
is still,
per acre.
Jim has some hesitations,
Yeah,
which,
I'm allowed.
yes?
Yeah, 43,560, that's right. Divided by 15. It's 2,900 square feet per site.
We don't even
With
require
minus the
board.
setbacks, which is gonna run about, something between 10 and 15.
Yeah, but I think
That's why
if we say the
For what?
maximum is
And that
15
would- for RVs or
for
for,
RVs.
for the RV park, we say the
and for the,
campgrounds,
as well?
if you tell them you can only put 10 campsites
Sites.
per
So that's going
acre,
to-
that's gonna be a huge campsite, and they could probably put 10 tents on their one little campsite,
Or
Yeah.
10 yurts?
10 yurts,
Hold on.
whatever they wanna put up there. I don't think being more restrictive on the density benefits anybody, as long as, once they give us their CUP package and we review it, everything is safe. That's the biggest thing.
Yep.
If they go more dense, they have to really show the exits, the safety for everything. They show where they put all their amenities, they're sized appropriately. But if we say you can only do 10, and they're like, well, here's my conditional use permit package, and I've done 10 acres or 10 spots per acre, but I have all this space. I could have really done X, Y, Z. They're not
got
gonna
I got
do
it.
it.
I
When they do
agree.
the math, they're
So
not.
what are you, sorry, are you saying 15 per RV park, 15 across the board?
15 per acre.
15 per acre across the
For
board? Mobile
campgrounds
home?
and RVs.
Oh,
We're not
RV.
talking about,
Mobile
we
home, you're not
already
touching
agreed on
mobile
it.
homes, good, okay. So 15 for RV parks.
Those are just a lot larger, and a double wide is way bigger than a little travel trailer.
Well, that's, we had 12 before. And what did we have before? 8?
And we removed the requirements of amenities except bathroom,
And laundry.
and laundry.
Okay.
And
so-
I think that the concept on that was if it would be to the applicant's benefit to propose amenities, and we didn't want to be that specific on what they had to be.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Consensus on
Consensus on the
15.
15 for the RV
Everyone
park
Five times
and the
yes.
campground.
Okay with 15s per acre?
But now we don't have,
Aye.
now we have a,
Agreed.
mhm.
Okay, thank you.
And this is for RV and campgrounds.
Correct.
Okay.
Then the last thing would be what? The rural living or
The-
not?
The rural living and
I mean, a lot of people buying rural living to have rural living. I mean, if you keep it at 10 acres, yeah, then you make it a project.
I mean, this one's hard because there's not a lot of options in
they're
the
just
Yeah.
zoning that we're
Okay.
providing,
Well,
but
and-
at the same
Right,
time.
but they're not maintained roads. And that's
Yeah.
the
the
community
problem.
that lives there does maintain them. There's, the traffic and the reasons why they're living in these rural situations was something that we considered is why we did not choose to continue in rural.
I mean, how, like in the county, if it's in an area where it's not maintained, they actually make you provide the roads, like during the CUP process of having the access road, like doing all these things.
Since, we can put something in the development, and then for these particular sections of the development code that says your parks and campgrounds, anything, because that's technically a commercial activity, it has
Yeah.
to be publicly accessible.
Mhm.
And a lot of these.
So it's extra steps and money and considerations to do if they want to try to do it or not. Like not limiting it, but it definitely makes it more difficult.
Right, so it's like you have the county option over there, or you
Yeah.
have the 29 Palms option,
Yeah.
which we're trying
No, I know.
to make that might be different,
Great.
I mean, you put a,
which would mean no rule.
now think about it, you're talking about putting, if we had a 10 acre minimum in rural living and you got 15 sites per acre, that's 150. Yeah. You better put a lot of restrictions on what that development looks like, I think.
And
Is that
pe-
really what you want to do to rural living?
to
That
not,
would be that's what you have right now with 10 acres and 15
well,
cars per acre.
we
That'd
made
be
that,
150.
I think we made that consensus based off not in rural living.
Right, I know it was, but now we're considering rural living. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Are we considering rural living, opening up rural living to campsites and RV parks?
No, I am not.
This one's hard for me. I don't know. It's essentially,
It sounds like
I don't
another-
like that there's not really that much option without, but
I
I
would
don't.
need some more
and
time
I
to
think,
study on it.
I think this is why we said no because of that reason, but at the same time, there's not like another option, so
But
it was like good to see this option. I
make
get
the
that some
map
people
smaller
want it
too?
and a lot of people
you
don't
make
want
the
it that
map
have
smaller?
commented.
Yeah.
There's been
yeah,
both.
yeah. I mean, the areas that are in city limits are just, I don't know, they're not.
And the allure to 29 Palms is just our CUP fee. That's why everyone wants to just do it in the rural living years, because our fees are cheaper. And they don't like the restriction of not going into rural.
I'm sorry, I didn't, they like the restriction?
What?
Okay, one conversation at a time. So for comparison purposes, I've highlighted the rest of the RL zones.
Mhm.
and it does give a much wider view. Now, the 10 acre, for instance, I'm doing a flashing right now so you can see, because it's white, so it's a little harder to see.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot more, but if we keep the limitation to 10 acre minimum, you still have that limitation.
I see.
Okay.
So even if it's in that area, like that big square here, potentially by baseline, it looks like it's probably over 10,
By
Yeah.
far.
right? So it's 160. Yeah, it's in 2.5.
So there's a lot more. There is a lot more, even with the RO1 or the RO 2.5. There is a lot more options
Yeah.
that are 10 acres plus that people might own or could purchase
Or could combine.
or could
Yeah.
combine. It's
I mean, I think seeing that there's more options, I like that. I think maybe it just comes down to the restriction of how it can be operated if as to be public use, like where it's at. It's going to be a lot more tricky. I don't think it's exactly the same as how you would look at it with the commercial lots, but some of those commercial lots are same thing, right? It's like basically the same area.
They are adjacent to housing.
So it's not, yeah, it's not that.
Could you back out a little bit? Of course, everything outside, I want to see, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of areas that
Now, when a little bit of caution, if I zoom out too much, I lose some of the detail.
Yeah.
outside the city limits that are, okay?
Okay, so this is the western portion.
Yeah.
This is the northern portion of the city. I know it's maybe a little hard to see, but this thick red line is a city boundary.
It's the city,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's a lot inside the county.
Yeah, and I
Well,
think we
the
already
county isn't
have-
subject to our zones anyway.
Yeah, and we already have camping in rural living. This would just identify more specific what would be needed. No one's done it yet.
but the first
Like
time- the
if people
first
are
time-
buying properties with the options, they're seeing it. It's like my opinion, just like with reducing the limit for the STR permit based on the acreage. That was like another thing where it was like reducing it after the fact. People are investing in the property and then taking that away after. Like it's already, you already have the ability to the campgrounds. I know there's not one, but it doesn't mean that there's not someone who bought the property with the intention to do that, knowing that it was possible.
So are you talking about keeping the 10 acre requirement, but opening up rural living?
Yes,
Okay, but keeping the 10 acre requirement.
yes. But I think it would need more specific,
It does open up a lot more options.
just opens up more
But-
options.
There's going to be a lot of opposition to the rural living.
Yes.
But if we write a code that it's regardless of how people feel about it, it will still go through. So if we write the code and we allow it and it's allowed, even if they say no, they could, you know what I mean?
This is a development code amendment, which will go before the city council.
Right, and say it is now the rule. Even if the package comes here and now it's a public hearing, if they don't like it, it won't matter because it meets the code.
But that's
Well,
the same way with the,
it's every project will have to be viewed on its own merits through the conditional use permit process. Conditional use permits will go before the planning commission for its official approval. And at that time, we're gonna have to review each project on its individual basis as
Yes.
far as public access, parking, consistency with the neighborhood. We're da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
but the consistency with the neighborhood is the hard part, because that was our trouble with the vacation home rentals. When we got a package, I don't think sometimes we wanted to approve the package, but they checked
There was
all the
no finding.
boxes, so there was nothing we could do to say no to. So if we, just saying you gotta keep consistency with the neighborhood is just the character of the neighborhood is way too vague. We need something that we can look at and say, no, because this neighborhood, this doesn't fit for the use of this neighborhood, it doesn't fit in here. So if we just say you gotta keep with the consistency of the neighborhood, I'm providing a place that people come live for 2 weeks. I'm part of their neighborhood. So I think there's gonna be a lot of opposition to this, and I want to make this advantageous for people to come and be able to make money doing it, but I think the commercial tourism and public are two just pretty restrictive zonings, but adding in the RL makes it more advantageous for the people wanting to do this, but I think it also hurts a large number of the population of the town that we are here to kind of speak for.
So we can make the recommendation to the city and we could, or to the staff, and we could also, vote on it. So if that's what you guys want. Like, they're just looking for what it's written so far, what changes would we like, and if we'd like to send that to the city council.
I would like
So-
to study the issue of rural living a little further. That's all I'm saying. Yes, I'm asking for,
You want a continuance?
yes.
Continue it to a date specific.
I would suggest a continuance to a date specific.
And I think we're on consensus about everything except for this specific.
Yes. And probably
So
the
there's no way
size.
to move part of it. It's just,
Well, you can
Holding
in
up
the
the whole
vote and then the majority rules. Like, it is possible.
yeah.
Yes.
So if you have, but you would like more time to study.
I'd like to think a little more about the rural living question, and, yeah, I would like a continuance on that.
Can I ask, so you guys are all in consensus on the 10 acres? You're
Yes.
good with 10 acres? Yes?
Yes.
You're good with 15 spaces per acre?
Yes.
You're good with the 50-foot setbacks?
Do you see a benefit to having those reduced in any way to 25 or anything else?
I think it makes it easier to meet that 15 spot per acre density, but I don't recall why we made it 50 feet.
It was a
50
suggestion.
feet is, the 50-foot setback is to protect
50 feet is
any
the-
neighboring residential parcels
50
from the
feet is from
impact
here to
of the
that
Impact,
campground.
okay.
So if it's not neighboring a resident, if it's on the street, is it still the 50-foot
Yes.
setback?
It is, yes, it is 50 feet from all property lines.
There's, that language could be
Mhm.
modified to say 50 feet from any existing residential use. That language could change.
And then 25 to non,
I-
or whatever
Yeah.
it works out to be.
So,
So 50
Step.
feet, consensus.
Yes.
50 feet's fine. Consensus.
Oh, 50
Krushat,
feet from property lines.
do you,
Uh-huh.
Yes.
do you agree with,
50 feet. Are you okay with that, or would you like to?
No, I don't have a problem with 50 feet. I mean, and you're looking at 10 acres minimum inside rural living. Every project comes before the planning commission because it
Yeah.
requires a CUP.
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Okay. You're good with the trash enclosure requirement, 3
Yes.
trash enclosures per 5 acres?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then dump stations, you're good with, I just want to make sure you're good with everything else. Okay. So we're just talking about the zoning at the next meeting.
well, if that's all that, yeah, I think Commissioner Krushat needs, more time to think about rule.
Okay, thank you.
Would,
Oh, you agree now?
but no, he wants more time for his rural living.
No, I thought we just agreed.
You- oh,
that
you-
it
oh.
would be 10 acres,
He just,
50-foot
If-
setback.
You didn't want to think through that to another meeting?
If not, you can make those suggestions to staff and do a motion and vote.
One more thing, Keith, I know you love this stuff. Is there a way to write something into this that gives us the ability, even if they've checked all the boxes, but we have 30 people in the audience that are like, absolutely not next to my house. Is there a way to write that in that we could say,
You're not gonna get that, though.
I know, I'm just asking the question. I don't think the answer is gonna be, yes, we can do that easily with this one little statement.
Uh,
But is there a way we could write something in that would give us much more flexibility in saying yes or no to a project?
let me put it this way. When we, application before you, whether it's a campground or if it's an arcade or a bar or something like that, we will make certain findings for approval or denial. The commission, if you choose to, for instance, if we recommend approval and you do not agree and recommend and deny it, you have to make different findings at that time to justify the denial. And, I don't want to get into two hypotheticals, but that is the process.
Right.
So and then whatever decision the commission makes can go before the city council on appeal. So if we say it's consistent with the neighborhood and the evidence from the neighborhood is no, we don't want that because of that, the commission could make different findings than staff recommends.
So let's say, just for my own clarification, we got 30 people in the audience. This one developer wants to build an RV park in rural living. They're doing the fence thing appropriate, they're doing the setbacks, they're doing everything right, but they say, one of the amenities I want to put in my thing is a big outdoor movie screen, and I'm going to show a movie every Friday and Saturday night. Could we, in the conditions of approval, say no outdoor movie screen?
They've already violated our night skies lighting issue, so.
Well, and
It's
I want to get,
Or-
I want to be very careful about specific hypotheticals.
Yeah, because that gets,
But
I mean,
I'm gonna say it again. I mean, if whatever our recommendation is,
the only thing I
the
would
commission
add,
could, in their independent judgment,
Yeah.
make different findings and have a different conclusion than staff recommends.
Okay.
the only thing I would add, because I have a little concern about the rural living area, because I can work both sides of those, is the fact that you're right. With what we have now, it's very restrictive. And rural living campgrounds are now allowed in rural living as it exists. So I'm okay with, the reason why it hasn't been done is because you're right. We've had a very complex system for figuring out how am I going to do this. And I know there's a lot of rural living out there that people aren't developing. And yes, and I would like to see that developed and promoting tourism. So, and as long as we had those two conditions put into rural living, the 10-acre requirement, I think we can move forward.
Okay.
For clarification purposes, we have 3 rural living zones. So there's RL1, RL 2.5, and there's RL5. You can have a 10-acre parcel in RL1. So you're saying in all rural living zones, it would be okay?
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify, as long as it meets the 10 acres. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think we have talked about this and worked this through enough. Do we have a need to continue this issue to another meeting?
No, I think we can move forward. If the rest of you guys feel good, I can move
Just need a
forward.
motion.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion and a second, please. Per
Okay, the motion has
screen.
got a lot of info. Okay, well,
Don't we have to
do we have to
another meeting
note
see the final thing with all the, no?
And the changes.
No.
with all the
Move forward.
changes?
If you want to move on this today,
Yep, okay.
So the motion is this plus all the changes?
Just
where the changes decided upon by the commission today.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that the planning commission find the project exempt from CEQA, adopt the resolution with the changes recommended today, and forward a recommendation to the city council for approval of the development code amendment.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Krushat,
Aye.
Commissioner Pahana,
Nay.
Vice Chair Cure,
Aye.
Chair Walker,
Aye.
3-1 approved.
Moving on to discussion of potential action items. Do we have any? No discussion of potential action items.
No discussion of potential action items.
Community Development Director updates.
Okay, just really quickly, I'll be making a quick presentation to the T-Bid on Thursday, updating them on the efforts we're making on the entertainment regulations. I've had a number of very good discussions, I think, with certain members of the business community and with law enforcement, so it's congealing a little bit more. And I'm gonna have one more workshop before the commission before we bring it back, just so we're all understanding where we're headed. So we have 2 dates of planning commissions that I'm going to ask the commission if they would like to cancel. The first one being November the 5th, that is election day.
I'm okay to cancel that day.
Yes, same.
I don't need to explain that then. And then December the 3rd is our annual holiday parade, lighting parade.
Oh, we did that last time. We had to like jet out of here, like finish early,
So
so
that's
I
why
would
I'm-
agree to cancel.
That's why I'm bringing it up now in case the commission would like to cancel.
I'm good with
Agreed.
canceling it.
Okay, so we won't, everyone okay with canceling these two dates?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be in Hawaii on the November 5th.
I
On
strongly,
business, for my job,
okay.
not because.
So that means we only have 2 planning commissions left for the rest of the year. Just putting it out there.
19th and
So it'd be it'd be
17th?
November the 19th and December the 3rd. Oh, I'm
No,
sorry,
the
no, December the 17th. And that's it.
I'll be available for both.
Alrighty.
My work's not sending me to Hawaii. No study session tonight. So before we adjourn, I want to thank everyone for coming out and participating. It is greatly appreciated. We really do help, the input from you all helps in us working through this stuff. Some of these can be awfully complicated, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about, so it helps to have other opinions that we get to hear from. And also, go out and vote. I don't care how you vote, mail it in, walk it in, drop it off in a drop box, or go on November 5th, but please go out and vote. Okay, meeting adjourned.
yeah.